What's up, guys? Mr. Dan here, back again with my second review of the works of director Phil Stevens. That's a pretty cool effect, isn't it, actually? And today we're going to be reviewing the 2008 film Below Man. Okay, this movie was something else. And Phil is a director that lives in the Philadelphia area. It's pretty close by to me. He was nice enough to send me his entire filmography after a group of us started to leave comments on some of his videos and started to review some of his films, most notably the film Flowers. Karen from Motion Chicks Films, Nye from Nye's Bizarre Cinema, and Curly Girl from Curly Girl to Movies, and a few others have reviewed some of his films. So he was nice enough to send me his films. I'm going to start going through them. I started out with Frank Edge Jr., and I actually wanted to go in order. This one came out before that. So I have this film, and there's another one called Within 304. Now that's a short film, so I probably should have thrown that together with this one. But both of those came out before Frank Edge Jr. After this, I'm going to start going in order, okay? And he's currently working on, according to IMDb, a film called Miasma. So they have that as 2022. So it would be great if that came out this year. If not, we'll look for that early next year. But anyway, this is the second video. In the first video I did on a dark and stormy morning in a car. That was for Frank Edge Jr. I was very surprised that this film, which came before that film, this film is much gorier, and that film had a couple graphic scenes. This film is, and it's a much different kind of film. This film is very irreverent. It's very, and it caught me off guard. It kind of sneaks up on you too. Number one, let me just say this though. We are talking about some extremely gory scenes, so this film isn't for everybody. And I'm not going to give away too much in the review, but perhaps even the review would be too much for some people. Actually, I won't go into details, but there's one scene I have to admit it did kind of churn my stomach a little bit. And that rarely happens when I watch films. Anyway, this film details the exploits of somebody named Rubenstein Card. And I apologize, I tried to look it up. I'd have to pop the DVD back in to confirm, but the actor's last name is Stevens. I believe it may have been Mark. I apologize. I can't remember. I don't know if that's a relation to Phil or not, but he did a great job. Very sort of laid back. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that goes on around him, and he's just he takes it all in stride. He's kind of laid back. His line delivery is really good. And basically, he plays a character. His character is an agent for something called the Flip Side. That's like an alternate universe. And he sort of patrols the barrier between the Flip Side. And there's a scene where he has to communicate with an entity which is occupying the body of a young lady, and it speaks through her private area. And we get to see that, and there's teeth involved there, and yeah, that yeah, that was a little rough to look at. And it's the kind of movie where like a guy wearing a giant cow skull will walk up to his car and knock on it, and they'll start having a casual conversation as he knows this guy. And as the movie goes on, we're introduced to some other characters. There's a guy that works in like an alarm company, who goes to work every day with a big paper bag over his head with two X's where the eyes are, and he's like really annoying. And that's when you know, wow, this movie is really kind of irreverent. It's pretty out there. And what happens is at one point he has to go into the Flip Side. There's a particular grave that he digs up. He climbs into the coffin, into a tunnel. He comes out of the other end. He communicates with these entities, which they pretty much tell him to get lost. And eventually what happens is some evil being from the flip side, it comes through and starts disrupting the balance of things, starts killing off some people, rather graphically. And they have to have a battle at the end to sort of restore order. And I won't tell you too much more than that. This is a graphic film. The kills are pretty brutal. You can also enter the flip side through the torso of certain people. So you sort of cut them open and just climb in, and that's done pretty graphically. Some of those effects aren't as convincing as the others when they're going through the torsos of people, but they're pretty good. For a film of this budget, I mean, the effects are really good. I think I've seen a lot worse in films with higher budgets. I got a real kick out of this. He goes to visit somebody in a motel, and it's real dingy in there. Every interior setting in Phil Stevens films is just like a mess. There's the alarm company guys. He's got a million Post-it notes. It's things stuck to the wall all around him. It's all cramped and confined, But the outside shot is of something called the Neshaminy Inn, and I had to laugh because that is basically when we would visit my aunt, when my aunt was still alive, every Christmas, right? And a few times during the year, we would go there, and there was to make a left turn in this part of the country, a lot of times you actually have to go be in the right lane, and you have to do like a loop. So we used to take that exit and stop at a traffic. Usually you would always hit the red light. So I spent a lot of time in front of that very motel waiting for the light to change. I thought that was funny, and I don't know that those inside scenes were shot inside. I don't think so, but that's kind of what I always thought it would look like, to be honest with you. Anyway, there was one other scene from the film that I wanted to mention. What was it? Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is, in a film like this, a lower budget film, the agent Rubenstein Carty he does carry guns. He has to put some people down, and the gunplay and the sound effects of the guns sounded realistic. In a lot of lower budget films, they might add the sounds later. They don't sound like realistic sounds. So props to them for pulling that off and also doing it safely. Recent events have reminded us that is not always the safest thing to do in films. You have to be very safety conscious, even when you're not firing real rounds. And they really pull that off very well. The fight scene at the end is it's not like crazy stunt works, but it's kind of realistic. A couple guys trying to beat each other up on the grass. You're slipping and you're falling, and you're not everybody is gonna pull off an insane UFC move. A flying guillotine or something like that. So that scene was entertaining. The movie, perhaps it goes on a bit long. I have no idea how long it was. It doesn't say on IMDb. I don't know how long it was. But I did enjoy it. I was surprised by it. Much different kind of film than Frank H. Jr. And I'm looking forward to the next one. Again, not for everybody, but if you can find a clip. I have noticed that some of his shorts on YouTube seem to be clips from this film. He does have a short called, again, just a warning, this is not for everybody, called Razor Blade Sex Toy. And you get to see that used in the film and also in that short. And it's pretty graphic, as you can imagine. So some of his shorts on YouTube seem to be scenes from the film or scenes that are similar to scenes in the film, if not the exact same scenes. So there it is, guys, my review of Below Man 2008. I believe, so I'll check out that Within 304, which is a short. I may or may not have a separate video for that. And then eventually, I believe the next one will be Flowers, which is the film that sort of brought all these films to our attention. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Later.